Righto, the week that was ending September the 12th. Okay, this uh, thing here tells you exactly what's going on. Does valuation matter anymore in the age of AI? If that doesn't tell you we're in a crazy market, I don't know what does. But anyway, Tom and I'll have a chat more about that on the podcast. Okay, a little video there about mining in Australia, which I thought was quite good. I think, and I think we talked about this before. I think mining will do well over the next decade, but it will be in the in rare earths and precious metals, gold, that sort of stuff. It won't be just iron ore. But again, have a look at that video. I think it's only 10, 12 minutes or so, but it's quite interesting. Okay, what's happening this week? I'm starting to get seriously concerned about the valuation in the US, a little bit in Australia, but more generally about everything. Gold, Bitcoin, stocks, property, you name it, it's going up. When that happens, generally it's not a good thing. So again, we'll talk more about that on the podcast, but it's just looking more and more concerning. The bull market's getting older and older, and at some stage it's got to turn. There's enough red flags, I think, globally to be very prudent in your asset allocation. One of those is the second line there, hidden risk and solid evidence. One thing I've been having a look at is the US property market, the Canadian property market, and the Australian property market. There seems to be a lot of red flags there. Again, we'll explain that in greater detail. We've got one more property special left, and we'll explain in that what's generally going on. The point there is what often happens is everything looks really good until it, for some whatever reason, it falls over. When it falls over and you peel back the layers, what you suddenly find is there's a lot of corruption or fraud or mismanagement going on that was hidden away that we didn't see. And so on the surface, everything looked really good, but underneath there was actually trouble brewing all the time. It's just constantly pushed down. It's a little bit like that saying, they kick the can down the road. What I think we're seeing in some markets is they're kicking the can down the road, but you're not actually seeing it because it all looks like it's actually quite rosy. Okay, third dot point there, Trump tariffs head to the Scottish, which is the Supreme Court of the United States. I think they'll probably give Trump a tick and allow him to do tariffs. If they don't, it'll be a bit chaotic. So I think we're going to have to look at that. The decision won't come out, I think, until about November. So again, it's one of the things that seems to be just hovering there in the background, but everybody's ignoring because everybody's enjoying the bull market. Okay, ANZ cut 3,500 positions. I saw Westpac, I think, cut 1,000, or it might have been Bendigo Bank or somewhere. Anyway, point being, that's not a great indicator of a strong economy, and we need to have a look at that a little bit further. The Australian Cape ratio is about 21, which is a little bit overvalued. A fellow there warning of a blue chip bubble on the ASX, probably not wrong. I went back, I think I might have talked about it on the podcast last week or the week before, where I went back and had a look at some of the PE ratios of the top 10, 20 Aussie stocks, Telstra, Wesfarmers, usual suspects. Some of them are really, really quite high. So we need to just be a little bit careful there. A longer article is called This Time Really Is Different, which is a little bit like the one up the top here again, which says valuation doesn't matter anymore. I read this fellow's book, Victor Schvetz. I seem to agree more with him with his book than I did with this article, but it's generally a good read. However, what Victor is saying is there's going to be a lot of instability, which I don't agree with, which I agree with, but I don't agree with a lot of his endings. What he's saying is there'll be no more economic cycles, there'll be no more capital cycles, mean reversion won't happen. Those sort of things are a bit of a big call in my book. So anyway, it's a good article there. You should probably read it and see what you think of it. Okay, lesson of the week. Generally, I try to keep these sort of theme or consistent. What I'm doing with Victor and saying, oh, there's no mean reversion and capital cycles and the cycle is dead. That's one, I've got to say too, folks, that's one you hear every cycle. Every cycle you hear the business cycle's dead. And all it is a bull market that goes on longer than those sort of people expect. So we're going to talk about regression and trend. You probably see these generally in coaching calls and stuff. But again, Tom and I will have a chat about that. And look, if there's no such thing as mean reversion, then price becomes irrelevant. And we'll talk a bit more about that. Anyway, that's about it, folks. I will see you next week. Cheers, folks.